study. Today we are talking about Jesus' reference to Jonah 1:17 here in Matthew chapter 12 verses 38 to 42. Let's read these verses together. Verse 38 says, "Then some of the scribes and Pharisees said to him, 'Teacher, we want to see a sign from you.' He answered them, 'An evil and adulterous generation demands a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was in the belly of the huge fish 3 days and 3 nights, so the Son of Man be in the heart of the earth 3 days and 3 nights. The men of Nineveh will stand up at the judgment with this generation and condemn it, because they repented at Jonah's preaching, and look, something greater than Jonah is here. The queen of the south will rise up at the judgment with this generation and condemn it, because she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and look, something greater than Solomon is here." So our last time together, we discussed how Jonah was thrown into the raging sea and God appointed a fish to swallow him. Jonah remained inside of the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights, and the fish later released Jonah back onto the dry land. So from our reading today, we see how Jesus quotes Jonah chapter 1 verse 17 about Jonah being inside the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights, and alludes it to his resurrection. So in this passage we just read, Jesus refutes the scribes and the Pharisees, who were religious leaders who were asking him to perform some type of sign. However, early in the chapter, we witness Jesus performing 2 miracles, both of which only God can perform. If you look back at verse 13, we see Jesus healing a man with a withered hand. Then later in verse 22, we see Jesus restoring sight and speech for a man who was demon-possessed. So why are they requesting for Jesus to perform a sign after witnessing these 2 things? As Mark and Luke explains, they were testing him. They demanded to see evidence that Jesus is truly who he says he is, and a sign would prove that. They assumed Jesus had some strange mythical power who could perform such miracles. Jesus' opponents rejected him as their Messiah. They did not believe that Jesus is truly God, so they did everything they could to push him back into a corner to prove their theory. They accused him of blasphemy because he was making claims as being God. So what's the difference between a sign and a miracle? For these religious teachers, a sign is delivered immediately from heaven, whereas miracles are performed on earth through people and things. So think back to the Exodus account when Moses spoke of the Lord to the people, and the Lord performed signs in order for them to believe. So how does Jesus respond? Instead of performing a sign to his opponent, he tells them about a past event, and an event in which they could relate. Jesus makes reference to Israel's prophet, Jonah. The sign has already happened, and that was when Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. The prophet Jonah was the sign they were searching, but they did not understand the meaning. In verse 40, Jesus alludes to Jonah being inside the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights, referring to his death and resurrection. On the 3rd day, Jesus rose victoriously from the dead. Jesus' opponents did not fully understand the comparison of Jonah inside the belly of the fish to Jesus, nor did they understand why he was making a reference to the prophet. The resurrection is essential for Christians because it is God's greatest sign to all humanity that Jesus is God Himself. So why is the resurrection important? The resurrection is the door hinge for all of Christianity. It is what separates us from all other world religions. And the entire New Testament teaching rests on the resurrection of Christ. Why? As Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15, if there is no resurrection, then our preaching is in vain. If Jesus did not rise from the dead, then everything Jesus said would be a lie. But if Jesus did rise from the dead, then He is everything that He says He is and is worthy of our worship. As C.S. Lewis once said, I am trying to prevent anyone saying the really foolish thing that people often say about Him. I'm ready to accept Jesus as a great moral teacher, but I don't accept Him as to be God. This is one thing we must not say. A man who was merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would be either a lunatic or on the level with the man who says he is a poached egg, or else he would be the devil of hell. You must make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman or something worse. You can set him up for a fool, you can spit at him and kill him as a demon, or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God. But let us not come with any patronizing nonsense about his being a great human teacher. He has not left that open to us. He did not intend to. Now it seems to me obvious that he was neither a lunatic nor a fiend. And consequently, however strange or terrifying or unlikely it may seem, I have accepted the view that he was and is God. As Christians, we can sleep well tonight, regardless of what happens in this life, because we place our faith and trust in Jesus as our risen Lord and Savior. We do not need no other sign to prove that Jesus is truly God, but we know He is because of His resurrection, and that makes all the difference. Thank you for joining me with 5-Minute Bible Study.